Hello, my friends. I am making a prediction that in April 2025 there will be some improvements in the war in Ukraine. By improvement, I mean some lessening of the fighting. I'm making this prediction in late November 2024, so that's about 3.5 months from now. And so, will the Ukraine war end in April 2025? I'm predicting not exactly a ceasefire or other partial compromise is likely. There could actually be an end to the war. That seems a little unlikely. But there will be an improvement. How big of an improvement? I don't know, but I'm predicting a noticeable improvement around early April 2025, starting in March and then finalizing in April. So, why am I making this prediction? I'm making it because in an evidence-based practice, which is what the system of astrology that I use is, it's an evidence-based practice. We take the findings from our research and we apply them to real-life situations to see what happens, to see if it's useful in real life. What happens? The most common application is consulting individuals, clients. But here we have a public situation, the war in the Ukraine, everybody can see what's going on, the news is available. Let's see if we take these principles of vibrational astrology that work in controlled research studies, apply them to real situations, are they useful? So I've made about a dozen videos. I haven't made one in a long time. I think it's been close to half a year since I've made one. So I'm making another one. I made a lot during the early stages of the war. Over the first 6 months, I was making a lot of videos. There was a lot of tension, a lot of excitement, a lot of curiosity, a lot of anxiety about the war when it first started. It was in the news and I was making videos. And my predictions have been extraordinarily accurate, more than I imagined that they would be. I expected them, or I hoped that they would be fairly accurate, but they've been amazingly accurate. For example, I predicted very early on, within a week of the war beginning, that it would continue for many years. It's now over 2.5 years later. That prediction is true. When the war had begun, if you go back and you look at the news stories, there was very little talk of this war going on for years. There was a sense that this is a big, intense explosion of violence, aggression from Russia into Ukraine. Things would happen quickly. Instead, it became a chronic situation, exactly what I predicted. I predicted that Putin would declare East Ukraine as part of Russia. He would just say, this is part of Russia. And I predicted when he would do it, exactly what he did and when I predicted it. One of the predictions that I made that was wrong was in the battle of a city called Bakhmut. This was one of the bloodiest battles. Some people say, historians say it's the bloodiest battle since World War II. And I predicted a certain narrow time period, short time period, that Russia would conquer, you might say, Bakhmut. That was wrong. That was one of the wrong predictions. Russia did, I think within a month or two, not too long after that, did conquer Bakhmut, took full control of it, but my prediction was not exactly accurate. The timing was wrong. But that Russia would advance, take it over, and continue to advance, that became true. So it wasn't completely accurate. So monitoring exactly what I'm predicting, what's happening, and how accurate it is. This is a way, again, of seeing whether these ideas are useful in practice. Are they giving us accurate information? Now, my prediction now that the Ukraine war will decrease, that there will be a partial resolution in April, is maybe not quite as wild as some of my other predictions. The United States has a new president coming in January who's seems to be more interested in compromising, or people would say even backing down from the American point of view, so that there might be some change. Is maybe not that wild, but I'm predicting specifically April and a specific result of maybe a partial ceasefire, something like that. The closest we'll get to any resolution. Okay, Now, here's how I make the predictions. This is the same kind of graph that I showed in the other videos, where I show the ups and downs in the war. When this green line goes up, that favors Russia. So in September of 2024, favoring Russia. And then again from December to January. So this whole time period here in late 2024 overall is favoring Russia. And Russia's been advancing. Here we see these brown lines coming up, and if we look at the meaning of that, the legend here, that's harmonic 13. That tends to favor NATO and the United States, but with significant conflict. So you can see the emphasis changing from Russia to NATO as we go from 2024 to 2025. The red shows periods of potential harmony and peace. I did not do these red graphs in the previous videos. I added those in. And I did talk about 11, which is the blue. We can look at this thing. So what I did is I made it clearer what's going on. I put a big green circle here, Russia and Russia. So you can see this time period emphasizing Russia. On the right side, we see this big tan or brown or gold, whatever you want to call this color, area. And then again, which is the 13 vibration self-determination. When 13 vibration is strong, America is strong. There's a strong support for America as the nation of the proud, the brave, the free. This image, whether these things are literally true or whether you agree with them, does not affect that they work. So when 13 vibration is strong, the United States comes to the foreground, and the emphasis on people being able to determine their life that they want is strengthened. These light blue areas with the dark blue circle, ellipse around it, those are times of freedom, of wanting to do whatever you want to do. Like in the United States in the 1920s, the Roaring 20s, people got wild. They were getting drunk. They were doing wild dancing. And then the 60s, the revolution of the 60s, these were 11 vibe times. We're seeing a lot of 11 vibe in early 2025, along with the 13 vibe. This means people are tired of the war. They want to be free. They just don't have it in them to go out there and keep pushing through this. They're done with it. 11 vibration has very little discipline. It has low impulse control. It just feels like, why are we fighting and struggling? Let's just feel free. Let's do what we want. Let's not be so judgmental. So this is happening in 2025. So the prediction is Russia will continue to be very strong through the next month of December and in January. But around February, the feeling that enough is enough, let's be done with this, let people do whatever they want to do. And that includes, by the way, if the people in eastern Ukraine want to be part of Russia, a lot of people feel, well, let them. Let's not control everything. Let's just stop the fighting. So this will decrease. Then we have this pink area with the red circle around it. That's the 36918 vibe of peace and compromise. And people are less interested in going to war. And that is in April. So this buildup of people wanting to be free, wanting them to be able to choose the life that they want. And then on top of that, the 3, 6, 9, and 18 vibe coming in April will trigger the transition to let's just be done with this. So that's my prediction. I just look at the graph, whatever the graph says is what will happen, whether I like it, whether I don't like it. I do relate it to the current circumstances. So for example, right now, Putin and Zelensky, they have things they just completely disagree on. Zelensky says, we're going to get back eastern Ukraine that Russia took over. We're not going to give them 1 inch of Ukraine. And we're going to even go back and take Crimea back. Putin is saying Ukraine cannot join NATO and NATO cannot keep pushing, doing these things. There's just such strong disagreements. It's hard for me to imagine the complete resolution to the problem, but there will be at least a partial resolution in April. That's my prediction. I like to make these concrete predictions, to go out on a limb and see if it happens. So the graph shows Russia winning the war in the last half of 2024. And recently, North Korean troops have been in Russia to help win the war. Ukraine just last week launched a new missile called Oreshnik. It's so fast that Putin claims it cannot be shot down. There's support in Russia that is increasing their strength. There was this feeling that Russian military is worn out. There's been so many deaths. It's costing so much money. But now there's this new wave of strength and power with the help of North Korea, with this new experimental missile that's very fast, and Russia keeps pushing forward. Okay, so one of the things I say here is that the light blue ovals are 11 vibe periods of unrest and resistance to all authoritarianism. So this freedom, this blue, I put here freedom or freedom. It doesn't want any authoritarian control. It wants just to let people be whatever they are. That favors, you might think that would completely favor the Ukraine, who's fighting the communist regime of Russia that's controlling people, but actually it's more complicated than that, because there's the feeling that if Russia wants to be have whatever government it wants, if people are happy with that, let them do it, and let just people be, and let's just stop whatever is going on to increase this animosity between the countries. People don't have the willpower, the dedication, the stamina, the grit to push through when 11 vibe is strong. Now here's a quote from BBC.com. Data from the Institute for the Study of War shows that Russia has gained almost 6 times as much territory in 2024 as it did in 2023. So 2024 has been relatively large advancements for Russia. They now control about 20% of Ukraine. Meanwhile, Ukraine's surprise incursion into Russia's Kursk region is faltering. So there was a short bit of light and hope for Ukraine. They retaliated going into Russian territory, had some major success, caught the Russians by surprise, but now that's faltering. As we look at this graph, we can see little bits and pieces of like this light blue area, this tan or brown area, which are positive for Ukraine, some light, you might say, for Ukraine, but dominated by Russia coming back. Exactly what's happening. Russian troops have pushed Kiev's offensive backwards. Experts have questioned the success of the offensive, with one calling it a strategic catastrophe, given manpower shortages faced by Ukraine. So Russia comes back very strong, but in 2025, it seesaws back to Ukraine, NATO, United States, having strength. But by the time we get to February 2025, Ukraine may be in such bad shape that there's no turning the war around at that point. I think that that's likely, and so some kind of compromise developing in April. Now, why am I giving these predictions? It's not like a crystal ball that, the astrology knows what's going to happen in the future. What I'm actually really doing is getting a better understanding of the motivations of the people so that we can develop successful strategies. The predictions are just likely outcomes based on likely behavior. So that it's possible there will be an end to the war in April, or that very little progress will be made. The idea of compromise will become more acceptable. There will be some increased communication. There will be some movement towards it. How much? How far does it go? I don't know. That depends on what the conditions are. I'm not a political expert. I don't know all the details of what's going on. All I know is the astrology and what I hear in the news. So I know that in April, and I shouldn't say I know, I'm very confident that in March and April, there will be some serious movements towards compromise. We'll see how far it gets. Based on my limited understanding of what's going on, I expect a limited compromise, such as a ceasefire, something like that. Hopefully, it will be even better than that. Let's see. And also, in the behavior, we don't know what the leaders of the different countries, what they're thinking. I'm just basing this on what's going on in the sky. I haven't analyzed the leader of France and the United Kingdom and Germany and even the United States where I live. And I don't even know the birth times of the military leaders. So just based on a broad overview, this is what we can expect. Certain individuals can come in and make a big difference. We'll see. So my predictions, to summarize, Russia has the upper hand until February 2025. I'm making this video in late November. In December, it's looking bad for Ukraine. The mood changes to wanting the war to end and to let people be free, starting in February 2025. Even the Ukraine is seen as restricting freedom by people being forced into the military instead of pursuing their interests and being with their families. So all of these requirements and pressures and destruction going on, people just get tired of it. A long-term ceasefire is possible. This may be a carefully worded diplomatic solution, so neither the Ukraine or Russia looks like they compromised too much when actually Ukraine is compromising on everything they want, and Russia probably will compromise to some extent as well. The willingness is there in April. So that's it. I wanted to just give you this forecast. Let's look at that graph again. There it is. And we'll see if my forecast is correct. So thank you very much. If you're a subscriber, thank you so much. Being a subscriber doesn't cost you anything, but it helps promote the videos. It helps YouTube see that there's big interest in this channel and all the videos I make, and they promote it and advertise it more as they see that people are interested. And there's also a membership if you want to meet with me in live online meetings regularly. And here's some information on how you can become a member if you're interested. If you want to be able to interact with me live and ask questions and go over things, you can do that. Thank you very much for watching this video, my friends. God bless. Namaste.